Hello everyone, hope you all are in a good condition. Now in this great day, me and my group members are about to deliver our presentation that is Romanticism in Romantic Period. Now before we move to the real material, let me introduce my group member. First, Pintasari, and then me, Dwi Aprilia Divaria, and then the third, our member is Nanti Agnisa. Now move to the next slide. We have the definition about what is Romanticism. Uh, the Romantic movement was an international shift in attitude, beginning in 1770 and ending in 1870. It was known as the Age of Revolutions, which included the American and French revolutions. In addition, the Romantic movement saw the early stages of the Industrial Revolutions, which transformed society in many ways. Now we move to the main discussion about our presentation at this time. That is social background of society. Well, first in this background of society, we have industrial revolutions, which begin in 1750 until 1850. In this industrial revolution, part of the Romantics' obsession with nature had to do with the fact that they were living and writing at the time of industrial revolution. In the big cities, there were factories springing up everywhere, and mechanized manufacturing processes were changing society. This is what happened in industrial revolution at that time. Now, the next material will be delivered by my group member, Basari.
Point number 2. Coal and steam engines were driving force. Families were larger in the 19th century because people tried to have as many children as possible. As the population grows, transportation also need to grow as well. In that era, coal and steam engine play an important role for train, so production of those two things were driving force. And then the third point is that major change happened in agriculture, manufacturing, mining, transportation, and also technology. Fourth, England emerged as the most industrialized nation. Over time, people began working in factories more often than working in their own homes, with the textile industry being the first one to move the majority of jobs into factories. Factories hired a large number of women and children. There was a prevalent belief that everyone should be self-reliant and that everyone could become successful by working hard and saving money. Skilled workers sometimes had paid holidays. To be considered a member of the middle class, a family had to have at least one servant. In other words, England emerged as the most industrialized nation because of the use of technology and the machine. Move to the next point, because of the industrialization, it led to social unrest among the workers.
Okay, everyone, we are going to move to the next slide. It's about social unrest among the working class lead to violent clash between the employers and workers. The working class also suffered because the state followed the economic theory of the Scottish economist Adam Smith, that is, the government couldn't interfere with the private economic activities if they want to improve the economic of their country. Every interference of the free economic competition could be negative. To explain this theory, he used the metaphor of the invisible hand, which means each individual who tries to reach a personal economic advantage is pushed by an invisible hand to work for the good of the whole society. As a consequence of this policy, there were no precise regulation about wages and hours of work. The workers will live in the slums, unhealthy quarters in the suburb of the overpopulated industrial towns without sanitation and forced to work from 12 to 19 hours a day in turn of a small salary. To increase their home income, women and children of the lower classes work in factories too. They were more exploited than men because they work as men but receive a smaller salary. It's why the conflict between the worker and employer appear during the Romantic era or the Romanticism. The next is about rich versus poor. The range and gas fires become more available, providing heat, bread, butter, potatoes, and bacon were the dominant staples for those in poverty. Canned food became more in the early Romantic era, and jar food was available towards the end. Some of the poor lived in cellars where they slept on straw since they could not afford beds. Sometimes several families lived in one room. The rich were mostly different. They are the only ones who had bathrooms, though towards the end of the Romantic era, more middle class and poor families had them. While poverty seemed bad in the Romantic period of a modern standard, life was actually easier than it was the earlier eras. And the next slide is about French Revolution. The French Revolution had huge repercussion not only in France but all over Europe, including England. In other words, it was a time of huge social and political transformation, which was pretty inspired to the Romantic, who, as we might remember, valued individuality and freedom and rebelled against social and literary convention of their days. Okay, I think that's all of our presentation today about the social background of the society during the Romantic era or the Romanticism. Thank you everyone for your attention and see you later.